it's Ketty. Thank you again for joining me for the Somatics series, which are 10 short videos on psychophysical aspects of somatics. Now, in the first session, we had a general overview of the 6 levels of total body connectivity. In the first session, we also just generally looked at what they were: breath, core distal, head tail, upper lower, body halves, and cross-lateral movement. Then the second session we looked at breath, and breath is always about initiation. So to initiate any project, any movement, any new decision, it's always important to come back to the breath. So before you move, remember to have a good, strong, stable breath. Breath again is all about initiation. So the deeper the breath, the better you can initiate. And with a vertical breath, we feel our weighty self, our gravity, or our levity. With the expansive breath, we feel the way we work with space or environment. And then with the sagittal breath, the forward and back breath, it really informs us about how we use time and speed. Now today we're going to look at the second level of total body connectivity, and that is core distal. Core distal is normally the next thing that happens after breath. So it's all about boundaries. Core is when you pull your energy in. So just do that with me. Take the energy from out and pull it into your center. And you can feel a kind of tightening and a coming home and a coming back into the center. Distal is pushing out and away. So right now my hands are distal and now they're core. You can do this with any limb, you can do it with arms, legs. So really when you're working core distal, it's about space and self, or environment or other and self. So we're going to do an exercise first that deals with core. When you're aware of your core, it helps you with a sense of understanding yourself as being a container. So what we're going to do now is just bring one hand under the arm. This is kind of like you're going to lift yourself up. Okay, it's very comfortable, and it also hits a Jinshin Jitsu spot right at the back there. The second hand is going to come over the top and just gently caress your shoulder. So you have one hand under the arm and one over the shoulder. This beautiful movement is known as the container, and somatic experiencing expert Peter Levine often uses this one when people are feeling overwhelmed, when the world feels too big, when there are too many people out there, when things feel too much, or the to-do list is too long. So again, simply bring yourself back to self-touch and holding yourself, supporting yourself here, and you will be pressing on a Jinshin Jitsu spot with your middle finger, and then take the other hand around over the shoulder, and you'll also be pressing on a spot just there. Now this is a self-hug, but it's also you, reminding your nervous system that you are a container, and that nothing outside that container will fit into this container if you have a good, strong sense of boundary. So as you hug yourself, I'd like you to become aware of your feet. Just allow yourself to sense what's happening in the feet, in the heels, perhaps rock to the sides. Allow your weight to go from left to right until you settle, and just feel a nice, deep presence. Allow the feet to engage with the earth, and then take a nice deep breath in. You can do your vertical breath, breathing in, and release a weight sensing breath to the feet. Allow yourself to come up to levity between the ears, the vestibular system, up. And as you exhale, down to the feet. Remember, we've got our center of gravity here. Men's is a little higher. It's around the solar plexus. Women's is lower just because of the shape. And of course, the center of levity is up near the ears. So gravity, there or there, and levity here. So let's work with those things. So again, it's one arm under, one over. Take a deep breath in. Go from your gravity to your levity. Breathing in and And down to your gravity. Allow yourself to get heavier and feel your full weight. Breathing in, coming up. Allow yourself to sink as you hug yourself and feel your full weight. One more deep breath in. Fill that container. And exhale, releasing all the energy out. So this is very calming on your nervous system, the container. And actually sometimes you will see children doing this naturally. Now children know a lot about boundaries from a very instinctual point of view. For example, if someone like a distant relative comes to give them a big hug, they'll push them away or they'll push themselves away. No, they've got this real sense of boundary, a clear boundary. Or if they don't like the food, like their peas or broccoli, they'll push that food away. They really have this wonderful sense of instinctive boundary. Now, of course, because we have issues about consent, etc., a child will not always be able to have clear boundaries, but the instinctive boundary is always push it away if it doesn't feel right. And if it feels good and you want it, grab it. Grab it with all your might and bring it to you. You've always seen little toddlers, trying to get something off the shelf or pulling something towards them. So that again deals with core distal. So let's now look at distal. So we've looked at core and we did that lovely exercise, the container. Of course, another core exercise is just to bring your energy in, as we did in the beginning, and release it. Bring it in and release it. This is very core, just bringing all your energy in and down. And this is very distal. Now with distal, it's really about you understanding what's outside of you. That could be your environment. That could be other people. That could be the space between you and others. That could be the relating space or the personal space around you. So it's very important to get clear on this. And a lot of people who have been in abusive situations do really well once they perhaps do something like a martial arts course or go to the gym and start doing push-pull weights, because that actually does inform the nervous system to kind of give you information about having clear boundaries by being able to push and then pull. So these are exercises that work directly with your nervous system. Let's now look at the ways we can work with space. One way we can work with space is direct from point A to point B and go distal in a line. So let's say I want to go distal from me right out to you there. I'm going to do it with a flat-handed push. And you'll notice I make lots of sound effects. And then in, again, a push. And then in. So this is my boundary, and I find the edge of my boundary there because I've gone very distal. And in. I could go out across my body, and this is a closed way of doing it and a direct way of dealing with space. It's like an arrow. An arrow coming in. So I'm dealing with a space around me in a very linear way that gives me a real sense of point A to point B. I know where I'm going, I know what linear boundary is there, and I know when to stop. Now, with this boundary, you could stop suddenly. So allow yourself to go into space and stop suddenly. Stop. Pull it back. And now push forward and stop suddenly. Like you've hit a wall. And then back. Now this time we're going to go springy. And back. Just allow yourself to spring. And back. Springy. And back. So this is more flexible. And back. So there are two ways of going direct. One is to go from point A to point B and stop. And the other is to go from point A to point B and bounce. However, we also have another way of dealing with space that's not direct, not linear. It's fluid and flexible. So right now, I'm working with space and I'm moving my body through the planes. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. It's just that I'm more curious about the space around me. So there's a flexible way of getting from point A to point B. So now imagine you are point A and point B is there, but you want to get to it by taking a detour around here. So let's just practice this together. Take a detour, so take a little detour around and you still end up there, but it's different. It's a different feeling for your nervous system. It's given you more choice to explore the space around you and then firm up your boundary. So let's do that again. We come up and around, we swing, we allow our body to move, and then we reach our destination. One more time. Just allow yourself to get smooth and flexible and fluid and eventually reach your destination. So on that psychophysical level, this is saying I have my boundaries, but what I'm doing is allowing myself to navigate my space and become accustomed to my space and then stop, then firm up the edges of those boundaries. Whereas if I want to go direct, instead of open and flexible, I'm saying this is me, that's my boundary, I know how to get there. I'm going to stop at that boundary and that's it. It's very clear and very defined. Again, one more time. You can then also bounce back, so it's a bouncy boundary. So what we're going to do here is go again, again. In belly dancing we go like that. It's quite nice to be able to find boundaries with other parts of your body as well. I guess footballers would find it with a kick, right? And yoga people might find it with a large lunging move. So there are so many different ways of finding your boundary. But again, let's do some exercises now that work between core and distal. Core, distal, core, distal, core, squeeze it in, distal, hug, core, the skin. Okay, feel your skin, feel your sense of boundary. This is you, this is your skin, this is it. You're contained, you are the container. You're holding everything within. Distal, core, distal, and one more time, core, distal. So again, core distal is all about strengthening your sense of self and how you relate to the environment and your boundaries. I'll see you next week for head tail.